I went to a meeting the other day and I put my phone down and suddenly realised that my sort of 5-year-old niece here had suddenly put sort of stickers of, do you get that? You know, kiss me, it says on my phone with big heart.
Be quiet on set.
Okay.
Tero Documentary presents Filming in Thailand, a podcast for movie lovers with exclusive stories from behind the scenes.
Rolling sound
Sound rolling.
and action.
Hi, I'm your host Stéphane Lambert, and this is a new episode of Filming in Thailand. And here we are. This is a new episode of Filming in Thailand with our very special guest today. We are welcoming here in Tero's radio studio, Paul Spurrier. Paul.
Hello there. I love all the whooshy noises. It all sounds very, very grand. I feel after that wonderful music intro, it'll be a great letdown, but let's see.
It will. So welcome and thank you for joining us today.
Thank you for having me.
My first question will be, Paul, are you filming in Thailand?
Well, we're always trying to film in Thailand, of course. As you know, as a fellow filmmaker, you know, we sort of dream in films. I mean, there are always, how many projects do you have in mind right now that you'd love to do? And I think I'm the same.
I will use also all the fingers.
You haven't got enough fingers. I mean, I always say that the filming is sort of the easiest part in a way. By the time you get to film, you've made the film in your head. And then it's just the process of it's turning on and off the camera. The hard part is, of course, developing it and raising the money, getting people interested. And then once you've made it, getting it out there and trying to get people to watch it.
How long would it take to have a project, from out of the mind onto the screen?
I think it totally varies. I mean, my very first film in Thailand, I think, was about 4 years. And I don't think that's unusual. And then, the most bizarre project I've ever got involved with was the last one, The Maestro, where it came out of a conversation with a friend of mine at Tao, yes. And I think we thought about that in December, and 2 weeks later he'd raised the money, and we were shooting in January. I mean, that was insane. I've never had that before, and probably never since.
My question about filming in Thailand is special to you because you have many hats. You've been a child actor playing with James Bond. I mean, Roger Moore was not James Bond at that time.
I can't remember whether he was or wasn't, but we'll always remember him as James Bond, won't we?
Yeah. And you are a writer, you produced, you own this movie lovers club in Bangkok. You're a director, and you're also the filming in Thailand guy, because you've been with the Thai film, assisting the Thai film office for over 10 years, I guess.
I think so, yes. Helping them at different events and things. It's been great fun.
And in a way, you are the go-to guy for someone who needs information on how to film in Thailand when you are in a market or at a festival. You're the guy. You're the foreigner in the Thai village. Thai village meaning the Thai village in the market. Handing out informations, bringing people to different booths, different people. How did you meet them? How did you become this guy?
Well, I think to a certain extent, we're all in the film community, the Falang, the foreigners in the film community. We're probably all here because we really appreciate and value what it is that Thailand can bring to our projects and our lives. And so in a way, we're all sort of unofficial ambassadors for Thailand. I'm sure we're all constantly telling people about the great things that are here, and quite genuinely. So, for me, when I can't remember when it was, when I was first asked to go to an event, it might have been Cannes, and help say exactly that. It's always nice if you're being a salesman and you actually believe in what you're selling, then it makes it very easy. So, I mean, I wouldn't say it's what I do, as it were, but it's always great to be able to, spread the word of what Thailand has to offer.
How did they approach you? Did you approach them? How did it work? How did it work out?
As I get older, my memory fails. I honestly can't remember.
We had some archive. No, we don't.
I think I honestly can't remember how it all started.
It's been that long? No, it's been like, 10 years, 15 years you've been
something
helping out?
Like that. I mean, look, I think there aren't that many people. I can't think of many others, or even any others, who have taken the sort of strange path that I have done, which is to be part of the film industry here, but really to concentrate primarily on the Thai language portion. I don't know whether your listeners will know, but there were really at least two different film industries in Thailand. You have what we call the production services industry.
Production services.
Which is, the companies and the people here who help assist and coordinate international productions coming to film in Thailand. But then, of course, you have a local Thai film industry making films in Thai language for primarily Thai audiences. And from the very start, that was actually the industry that interested me more.
The
local
Thai filmmakers
the local.
Making films for Thai audience.
Exactly. And so I think, what that did was let me get involved in a rather deeper level in the local industry. And of course, it involved me having to, learn to speak Thai, at least well enough to be able to work. And so I'm not saying I'm unique, but I don't think there are that many people around who really enjoy and work within the Thai side of the industry here rather than the international side.
So you mean you're involved in the local scene, the Thai filmmaking industry?
Yes, I mean, I was a director of photography on a Thai feature film. I put in my time over a year, maybe almost 2 years, working as a director of photography on the Thai Lakorn, the Thai soap operas, which was, a total deep immersion. It was a crazy time because they make these local, rather like the South American telenovelas. And you have to shoot 20 to 25 minutes of on-air screen time per day. Per day.
So an episode a day.
Yeah, basically, often an episode.
Any casualties?
Oh, many, including my sanity, often. But, that was a great way because nobody on any of the sets spoke English. So
what was the name of this series? Do you remember?
There were actually two. There was Naksu Nok Sang Wien, and there was, what was it? Deksao Mahasajan, something like that. I can't remember.
For a TV channel in Thailand.
Yes. And, one of them, I think we did 80 episodes. And
80.
And then I remember as we were filming the last episode and it was all wrapping up and the bad guys had got caught and the good guys were triumphant. They said, ratings are quite good. Give us another 5 episodes. So at the last minute, the dead guy had to get up and fight for another 5 episodes. That's Thai TV, and it's crazy. And I don't think you could do it. Well, I couldn't do it for too many years. You just burn out. You're working 18 hours a day. You're working 6 days a week. It's crazy, but a great way to learn how, the Thai. Of course, language, but also how a set works in Thailand.
So did it help you or did it contribute to for you to be able to provide production services because you knew how to handle this, Thai set, Thai crew, Thai momentum, Thainess, some people say?
Well, it's the obvious thing for a Westerner to do in Thailand is to, once they start to know about the local scene and locations and how to find actors and the equipment houses, is to use that knowledge to then attract international clients and help them. I'll be honest, I've never particularly wanted to do that. I think it's largely a horrible job. You really... I mean, look, to be honest, one of the reasons I left England was because of all the things that I was fed up with about working with Falang film crews. You know? So the last thing I really wanted to do was come here and do the same thing.
The same thing.
What's always excited me is working, in the Thai language industry here. So I've really never operated or tried to promote myself in any way as offering production services to foreigners.
So you are mainly concentrating on filmmaking.
Well, I think as one gets older, you learn to value the need to have a sort of balance between the different things you want to do. There are certainly, at my heart, I like to think of myself as a filmmaker. So that is really my aim and my long-term aim in life. Of course, sometimes we need to earn money. Sometimes
that can help once in a while.
And so that's when we do the work that we try to do our best at, but it's a sort of paying gig. And at the same time, there are things that crop up totally unexpectedly, like the sort of consulting and helping work I've done with the government. And it's always tricky to balance those different things. If I spend too much time developing my own films, I can't pay the rent. And if I spend too much time working for money, I go mad.
But you also have your club. You have to pronounce it. I'm going to destroy the name. The Frizzy Grizz Club?
The Frizz Green Club.
Frizz Green Club.
Yes.
So actually we can ask you genuinely, so you're a filmmaker working in what restaurant?
Yes, exactly. That's the LA thing, isn't it? Every waiter's really an actor or writer. Absolutely.
But it's your own restaurant. It's your own club. It's your own movie theater.
Well, for me, it's all part of the same world, which is as somebody who has always loved films. I mean, when other kids were going out kicking footballs around, I was watching, black and white movies on BBC Two in England. And so that's always been, an inspiration to me and continues to be. And I suppose one of the things that I missed when I came here, apart from good English sausages, I suppose, and baked beans and things like that, and for you, a nice brie cheese, maybe.
So you mean English breakfast? An
English breakfast, of course. Who was it who once said, in order to eat well in England, you have to eat breakfast 3 times a day?
Anyway. Someone who never been to England?
How the hell did we get onto that? What were we talking about?
Food.
Food.
So surprising. We're talking food in England. No, I'm bad. Sorry. That's my French background. Yeah. No, we were talking about your club.
Oh, yes. So really it was... I missed having the opportunity to watch old films, cult films, foreign films, because the cinemas here are mainly dominated by the big tentpole Hollywood releases. And I missed that, so I set up a very small club. We have a 9-seat cinema. And
very comfortable, I must say.
Well, thank you. And so every night except Mondays, we show, old films, classic films to anybody who wants to come and see them.
But I must say that you have this screening room, but you have screens all over the place, so you can have a drink at the bar, watch the film, discuss with friends who are usually people from the movie scene in Thailand.
But no discussion while the film is playing. If you talk while the film is playing, I'll come and tell you to shut up.
You said while your friends in England were playing football, you were going to watch black and white movies. Is there any people in particular, any directors, any actors that influenced you at that time and are still influencing what you're creating?
Well, I think your tastes change, don't they, as you grow and hopefully mature. I loved the old black and white. I loved the old musicals, Fred Astaire, Ginger Rogers, of course. The old film noirs. I always loved those, and then I really started to appreciate at the time sort of modern American cinema. I'm still a big fan of Spielberg, and the early work, certainly. Yes. And back then, some of the genre filmmakers, like John Carpenter, was always great fun. And then
Carpenter fun. I mean, it's
well,
very-
yes.
But that's good. We'll talk about your film a bit later. Fun also.
Yeah. And then when I got to London and it opened up a whole new world. I remember there being a great cinema called the Scala in King's Cross. Mm-hmm. And that's where you would go to see Fellini and Pasolini and all night George Romero zombie films and John Waters films and Valerian Borachik and Tarkovsky. And so then that opened up a whole new sort of world of films that I'd never seen before.
Vixians, zombies.
Yes, everything, yes.
Interesting, very interesting. So you move to Bangkok, you find yourself being without all these references. There were no places to go and watch these films. Was it because there was actually no places that were screening those classic movies, or because it didn't fit what you were looking for?
Well, look, I always think that if you're going to want to make films or write films or even act in films, one of the most valuable things is to absorb all the work, as much of the work that has come before as possible, to find out what it is you like, what you don't like. And not that you copy, but it just becomes part of your DNA.
Filming in Thailand.
And I'm always a little shocked that even some sort of relatively recent, for me they're very recent, films like Taxi Driver, Blade Runner, those sort of films, Godfather, which I would think almost essential to a filmmaker to have seen and absorbed.
Taxi Driver, The Godfather.
I pick those randomly, but
sure, but it's interesting because they are movies with. They are deep. I mean, Taxi Driver is deep in meanings. The Godfather, it's an action movie, but it's also it depicts the society at that time, a certain kind of society. Are they still influencing the way you are crafting your work today?
Oh goodness, I think. Look, I think everything that we ever see has some influence on what we do. I think it goes into our subconscious and comes out somewhere. It sometimes worries me that I'm going to do something and I'll suddenly find, oh God, yes, I totally stole that and I never realized it.
But some directors are claiming that. They say, oh, this is a reference. This shot is coming from this film and this shot from that film.
Well, there's always a wonderful word you can use to excuse when you steal other people, which is an homage, you say. If you totally blatantly steal something, then you just go, oh no, it was an homage to Hitchcock, an homage to Renoir,
So who are you... what kind of homage do you have in your films? If you have any, or maybe you're trying to be 100% original.
I think it's impossible to be 100% original. Everything has been done. Occasionally you do see a film and it has a structure or something and you think, wow, that's pretty damn smart. They've done something. But even then, the basic elements, it's just often they've sort of shuffled them around or taken a different narrative structure or something. I don't know. I mean, look, you always try to have your own, sounds very pretentious, doesn't it? Your own voice. But
you have your own voice. I mean, creating, it's whatever you copy. If you copy anyone or anything, it's still your own voice.
Yes, that's true. That's true. I mean, the fun one probably for me was the last one, the Maestro, which came together very quickly, and we were really then trying to, I don't know, again, I'll use the word, why not, pay homage to the sort of, schlocky, campy horror films of the 70s and 80s. So that was quite fun to let loose a bit and have some silly fun.
That's a very good transition to the second part of our podcast, where we're going to discuss your work.
You are listening to Filming in Thailand, a podcast by Tero Documentary, with your host, Stéphane Lambert.
And that would be me. We are still with Paul Spurrier, actor, writer, director, the go-to guy for the Thai film office. This is important to mention because I believe that some of our listeners are looking into the opportunities of filming in Thailand, and you're really the guy to ask all these questions before you choose a production company, a local coordinator. And that's very interesting because you have, as you mentioned before, two angles when you watch the Thai scene. You are this guy who knows the local Thai filmmaking industry, and you are also a director yourself. You directed, you created, you produced, you directed films that are very unique.
That can always be good or bad, can't it?
Very good, because
we watched The Room last night by Tommy Wiseau. That's certainly unique.
Okay. So let me be more specific. Very few filmmakers, there are hundreds, thousands of filmmakers. But you had this film, The Forest, that suddenly put you, gave you a name that you have today in Thailand. The Forest, Paul Spurrier, The Forest. Everybody knows you, everybody knows The Forest, everybody knows that this film had quite a career. How did you come up with the idea of The Forest?
Well, my first film I made was in, somewhere around 2003, called P. And that was really an exercise in trying to really make a Thai horror film using traditional Thai spiritual beliefs and ghosts. And just give it... obviously, unavoidably, a sort of twist of a foreign view of it all. And, that back then we were shooting on 35mm film. And so it was,
And it's only 20 years ago. Not even 20 years ago.
Yes, that's right. How much things have changed. And so, that was...
Fiat was not born. And you were born?
Oh dear, now I feel old. So the process of, shooting on film and having to neg cut and do all your opticals and everything and your film dub, that was really quite a big deal. And we were lucky with it. It showed in around 30 countries around the world. It had quite a good life overseas. And I think I'd always thought that my next film would sort of be bigger. And so I had various projects in mind.
There was one film coming after P.
No. Unless I've forgotten one.
I know better. It was on internet. Edge of the Empire.
Oh, well, that was the one where I was the director of photography. It was a Thai film. I didn't direct that.
Okay.
It was fun, but yes.
Filming in Thailand.
And then, things like that. Things like Edge of Empire came along, and I saw it as a great opportunity, as I said, to get, more in depth into the local industry and learn learn cinematography, really, put in my time. And so gradually, years passed, and I realized I hadn't made a film, and everything had changed. It was now digital. And I was with a group of students on their very first day at film school, and I had really one message to them at the end, which was, you guys have no excuse not to be making films. When I started, you had to rent film cameras expensively. You had to buy the film stock. You had to process it. You had to print it. You had to put all your sound on mag stock. It was a big deal. And so I was saying, nowadays you can take your Sony, Canon, DSLR, even your iPhone, as people do, and make a film. So why aren't you doing it? Don't come and listen to me. Go and make a film if you want to be a filmmaker. And one smart aleck in the class sort of stood up and said, if that's the case, Mr. Paul, why haven't you made a film in 6 years, whatever it was?
Tough challenge. How did you respond to that?
I ummed and ahed for a bit and said class dismissed, I think. But that stuck with me, and I realized that he was absolutely right. We were living in a new filmmaking world, and that one couldn't and one shouldn't wait around for the perfect environment with the perfect number of investors and all the people you want. And so I set out to make a film that we could make with a very minimal crew, and film upcountry. And it was a totally new experience. Well, it's totally new. It wasn't new, but it took me back to my sort of really my early days of student filmmaking, and it was enormous fun and very creatively rewarding. So yeah, and we made that on a tiny budget, and the crew, to a large extent, there was me. There was my wife, who I bullied into coming, and she recorded the sound. She dealt with the costumes. She organized the catering. She kept the receipts. And my sister-in-law, who was the camera assistant. And we had 2 child actors in it, and we brought their parents along. They both brought their fathers along, and one of the fathers helped carry all the lenses, and the other father we taught how to hold the boom. And that was essentially our crew for large parts of the film.
But how did you come up with the idea of the film?
Well, I've always been intrigued with the idea of the belief in ghosts in Thailand. I think one of the obstacles to making ghost films in the West is that most people don't really believe in ghosts. And so you really have that suspension of disbelief takes quite a lot of work. But in Thailand, as you know, I mean, how many, this studio we're in, I bet outside there's a spirit house, is there?
That brings me to these questions. How can you make a film about ghosts in Thailand? I mean, it might scare away the team, the crew.
Well, we've certainly, I mean, wherever we've made a film, we nearly always have some location we're in where we hear the ghost stories. And it's everywhere in Thailand. I remember driving in our van, and every time we passed a certain corner, the driver would beep his horn, and we would say, why do you always beep your horn there? Is it because it's a corner and you think somebody might be coming along the other direction? And he said, no, because this is a dangerous corner. There have been crashes here, and it's because there are spirits here. And
full of ghosts.
So you beep your horn to not scare them away, but warn them that you're coming.
So we call the Ghostbusters. The studio is free of ghosts.
Excellent. Good. I'm glad to hear it. One of the things that's changed, and I think it's, for me, a pity, when I made my first film, P, it was really seen as something of a novelty at film festivals around the world. Here was it was at the time the first Thai film, Thai language feature film, directed by a Western non-Thai director. Mm-hmm. And I think that really intrigued people, and that did us a lot of favors in terms of getting attention for it. It's interesting, as time has gone on, I find that that's actually a negative point. It's a very good thing.
What do you mean, a negative point?
Well, I think it's a great thing now that, of course, we are beginning to realize that the international film industry isn't just a bunch of Americans and English and Europeans, that there are great filmmakers in countries all over the world. And so that has helped festivals to focus. Of course. They still count as Europe, but England doesn't. And so it's great that, festivals are nurturing directors from countries that we don't see as traditional filmmaking countries.
You're right. Seriously speaking, you have a very rich cinema in Spain, in Italy, in France, and they don't stick on the worldwide stage.
Yeah, but
they're coming now because of thanks to global streamers that offer movies from all over the world. So if you spend enough time to search, you'll find things that are incredible from everywhere, all over the world.
So you look, isn't Korea a great example?
Perfect.
Winning an Oscar and Squid Games and all of that. And it's great. For me, the downside is that people say, well, we don't want some sort of fake Thai person. We don't want some Westerner imposing his view of a country. We want to hear from the real local native Thai filmmakers.
This is what you hear inside Thailand or outside Thailand?
Mostly outside.
Outside Thailand. So people telling you, you're making a Thai film, but you're not Thai, so it doesn't work.
Yeah. I think there is that attitude.
It's quite, it's understandable.
It's understandable. My problem is I don't know what I do about it. You know, if I'm a British-born film director, am I forced to go back to horrible, rainy, cold, dull, miserable England? And I'm condemned to
London, because now it's rainy.
But it's never cold. You know, I can't... I like to be in Thailand. I want to make films here.
But you are not making Thai films. You're making Paul Spurrier's films, sometime in Thai language, in Thailand. But so there... In Thailand, within the Thai film industry, is also telling you, hey, you know, you're not Thai, so you cannot make a Thai film? Or this is something you hear outside from people who are distributing or producing Thai film in Thai language, from Thai director and Thai producer and Thai actors, Thai crews.
Well, I think you have to separate it out because, you know, commercial distributors, they're really only interested in one thing, is can we find an audience for this? You know, the festivals, almost by virtue of their very existence, tend to have an agenda as to what they want to promote, because that's the whole reason to be there as a festival, is to promote filmmakers. And whether they're promoting, you know, young filmmakers or female filmmakers or diversity, that's what film festivals do.
Absolutely.
You know, I think Thai people are very welcoming. And I think, like any film crew anywhere, if you treat people with respect, they'll respond regardless of whether you're...
I agree with you. You're perfectly right. What I'm trying to look into here is we hear very often, especially today, from streamers, from global distributors, that they say, we want local content in local languages, which translate into, if you buy a film from Indonesia, it has to be Indonesian film. So we don't want, if it's an American director with an American story in Indonesia in English, then it's an American film. Even if this director has been living in Indonesia for 30 years and is using everybody Indonesian, etc. Back to Thailand, this is something we hear very often. Hey, this is not a Thai film because you're not Thai. And it's not said. I don't think it's a negative comment. I think it's just it's a fact of life. It seems that you found kind of a niche where you're in Thailand, you speak Thai more than fluently, and your films are about Thailand, about very specific cultural aspect of Thai life, living in Thailand. But these are not Thai films.
No, and look, in that, I think I've probably failed. You know,
you made fantastic films that have been seen all over the world. How can you say you failed?
Well, I've always, you know, enjoyed Thai films and the Thai film industry. And I suppose it's certainly true that even though, bizarrely, I make the last 3-4 films have been almost entirely in Thai language, again, almost entirely with Thai actors, Thai locations, my biggest audience has come from overseas, without a doubt. And it always strikes me as odd and maybe inevitable that in spite of the fact I'm trying in every possible way to make my films Thai, still the world sort of somehow they still end up being seen overseas.
So you are actually trying to make your film sounds or look and feel like a Thai film.
Well, look, you certainly don't ever want to be some sort of stray interloper. We've all seen, you know, the films, when international films, they come to Thailand. And, you know, there'll be a scene, they'll be on the river, there'll be river boats going past, and there'll be Wat Arun, the temple in the background, and the man will take a mouthful of soup and he'll go, oh, it's so spicy. And so, you know, all the sort of the cliches of Thailand tend to come out. And who wants to be doing that? You know, because then you really are just a tourist sort of taking...
This is a very good point. So if I understand well, what you're saying is that a foreign director or foreign filmmaker here could bring living in Thailand, being within the Thai society as you are, can bring a different way, a different angle on how to see, to understand, to live Thailand. And that's not a Thai way, but that's a way in Thailand.
Well, I mean, one director I've always admired is Ang Lee, and you look at how he has managed to totally feel authentic in the way he depicts cultures. You look at Sense and Sensibility, a period drama in England. Who would have thought? Who would have picked Ang Lee to do that? Or The Ice Storm in America, or Brokeback Mountain. I mean, what a wonderful achievement to be able to go into different cultures and be able to immerse yourself and absorb that culture so well that people would never guess you came from another country.
When you make your film, are you taking from the previous film and having a piece of your previous film in the next one?
No.
No, there was no...
Not consciously.
Consciously.
I think, I'm sure all directors have themes that they tend to sort of come back to and little pet things they like to put in, but I wouldn't try to.
There is no forest in Linea and no Linea in Maestro, no pea in the forest.
Not intentionally, only by accident.
Filming in Thailand.
Let's talk an hour if we want, about Alinea. So Alinea could be pitched this way. It's a story of a guy who buy people to kill them.
Yes.
What a strange idea. You had a fight with a customer at your place before that when you came up with the idea?
Well, again, it struck me as pertinent in our modern times, and particularly as somebody born outside, living in Thailand, and our relationship to a country. And we certainly see all over the world examples of nations, companies, big corporations going into countries and exploiting them for all that they are worth. And using money to do that, using money to buy up businesses, infrastructure, people's lives. And so as I started to sort of look into this, I thought, what a great, we could create a great metaphor for that, which is make it very direct. So this is a story of one of these incredibly rich bankers who lives in Thailand to set up his base here. And his personal thrill is to make contracts with his, let's call them victims, where he will, answer their monetary needs, pay for their children's education, pay for hospital care for their sick family members, but in return, they have to agree to sign a contract to let him kill them.
It's kind of selling your soul to the devil.
Yes. I mean, look, I think that it's one of the things that also, not to get too deep, this is meant to be a nice, fun podcast.
But that's nice and fun. We are killing people.
But we often, I think, increasingly...
This is second degree for our listeners, of course.
We live in a world which is increasingly legalistic, and there's always a temptation now to think that if it's legal, if we have a contract, then it's okay. And I think there's a massive difference between something often that is legal and whether it's actually right or good or moral. And so I think it was also a comment about that you could argue that if somebody signs a contract in full awareness of what they're doing, would it be okay to then let them sign over their rights? Is that wrong?
Luckily, we have lawyers to bend that.
So that was an intriguing idea to me when I had it. And so we turned this into a story, and it also seemed totally ripe to set in Thailand.
So that was supposed to be a full feature film, then it became a series? Or is it the other way around?
Well, basically, we fairly quickly realized that we couldn't fit this into a sort of standard hour-and-a-half length. And so at script stage, we made it a 3-part series. One of the problems with the mini-series format is that you don't get it into film festivals because it's not a film. And so we did make a feature-length cut,
Okay.
which I wasn't totally enthralled with, but
An hour
that did
and a
get
half.
into, yeah.
And a half
I think it was still
version.
long. I think it was an hour and 3/4 or something, but
Okay.
that did get into festivals. And festivals can be a very useful way to gain attention. Some of the better festivals attract film critics. And to go back to the forest, I mean, what really helped us with that more than any other thing was that we went to a festival and Variety gave us a very positive review.
You won some awards with
We
the
won an
forest?
award, but to be honest, awards have, unless it's the Palme d'Or, or, you know, usually minimal value. But to get a review in Variety magazine, and from that we got an exclusive deal with Netflix. So we sold it worldwide exclusively on Netflix after its limited cinema run.
And that's not bad.
I know, it was great. It was great.
And then you have this film that you shot during COVID with this multifaceted and talented let's say music composer, writer, Kun Som Tao. You have to help me with the family name.
Yes, Somchao Suchawitakun, yes.
Thank you for your help. Much appreciated. That came to you, or you went to him and to start discussing about this film about this music composer trying to put up some kind of a show.
Well, that all came around from one disgruntled conversation we had during COVID times. Ajahn Somtao runs the Siam Sinfonietta Orchestra, and they would normally give a dozen concerts a year. It's a youth orchestra. You have to be under 25. And it's massively valuable as a way of young musicians having a chance to perform real classical pieces in a proper audience environment. It's great for their learning experience. But during COVID, there had been 9 months when there'd been not a single concert. And so the orchestra was kind of on hold. The musicians weren't able to rehearse, which is a very important part of practice, to practice as a group. And Ajahn Somtao was bored and frustrated, as was I. And so we got together just to grumble about how awful COVID was. And then I happened to remark to him and say, of course, although you can't actually perform for an audience, the Thai government never totally banned film production. And so although the orchestra can't give a live performance for an audience, they could give a performance if it was on film. So maybe we should make a feature film, and then they'll all get to be able to rehearse and practice and perform on film. So we had a few ideas floating around as to, what that could be. A story of an orchestra or what. And we both were rather sort of fond of old schlocky horror films. So we thought, well, that would be a fun genre. And really, what inspired me for that was the concept of how close genius is to madness. And I don't think Ajahn Somtao will be offended if I said that he sort of embodied that conflict.
A mad genius.
A mad genius. I think he's almost proud of the label. He's certainly a genius, and he's certainly eccentric. And so I said, well, I'd love to explore this and work with you on this and direct it. I have 2 requirements. One is that it is the story of this crazed composer, conductor. And the second requirement is that you play that part.
How did you react? How did he react to that? Basically, you asked him to film him as playing himself.
To a certain extent. And, I mean, he was amazingly willing. He in some sense has no sense of sort of protective ego. He threw himself into it 100% in a way that I could never have expected. And it's a very odd film.
It is actually. It is. How successful was it on the commercial circuit?
Well, it's really only just
Because it's
sort of...
difficult. It's a genre movie. It's an art house film.
Oh, I mean, look, it was tremendously liberating to make a film where it was specifically tasked as a cooperation with the orchestra. You know, all his musicians were in it.
They are the real musicians, the real students.
A lot of
acting.
the musicians have roles in the film, and you know, and it was also a great time, strangely, to make a film because all the actors who we wanted had no work.
Unfortunately, it was kind of standstill.
So some of the adult actors, you know, we got some great names from the Thai film industry. The two Boos, Wittiya and Sahajak, who were both incredibly, prolific in the amount of work they do internationally. And so, look, it was very liberating to do that, and for once not have to think about whether anything was too mad or not. If there was a way of filming a scene that was, a bit mad, we always went for it. And it was only just really finished doing festivals around the world, and I have no idea what people will make of it. We shall see.
So you, for this film, you've been the writer, the producer, and the director?
No, that one, John Somtow, because he is actually a well-known author of horror novels. So
quite successful, actually, on Amazon.
Absolutely.
Yes.
We came up with the idea, we drafted out the structure, but he actually wrote that. So that was and it worked well and fun as a collaboration.
And you directed the film?
Yes.
You are listening to Filming in Thailand, a podcast by Tero Documentary, with your host, Stéphane Lambert.
And here we are for the third chapter of this episode of Filming in Thailand with today's guest, Paul Spurrier. Paul, we were discussing your films, your filmography, and your latest collaboration with Kun Somtow, the main actor, the writer, and I would say maybe the inspiration of this film, the maestro. You have been both involved in the business side of the industry and the creative side. How do you manage both?
I don't. I hate the business side. I'd rather have absolutely nothing to do with it. But inevitably, as an independent filmmaker, unless you hit the jackpot and you find a producer who will, take all that away from you, it's almost impossible not to have some responsibility in terms of making sure this thing gets made and finished and, goes through the whole process.
If you had to give an advice to a foreign filmmaker, coming to Thailand, thinking like most of the people who are, setting foot in Thailand and saying, wow, this is paradise, people are so nice, the environment is fantastic. So this guy or girl would come here and say, I'm going to be a filmmaker in Thailand. What would you say to this person? Run away?
Well, look, I think it depends what you want to do. The production services industry here is now very mature. And so just about whatever level of film you want to make, whatever genre, be it documentary, be it drama, be it series, there will be somebody here who will support and help you to turn it into a reality.
Is that so? So you make it sound very easy, actually.
Yes, I think it
Really?
is. I suppose my one bit of advice would be to actually come here. I know that sounds maybe obvious, but you very often get productions that they'll do all their development overseas. Even part of the pre-production they won't come for. And then they'll fly in a surprisingly short amount of time before they shoot. And I suppose my one bit of advice was, if your schedule allows, come here a bit earlier. Have a chance to meet the different people who can help you and look them in the eye and work out whether you can trust them or not, whether they have the same ideas as you.
But that brings us to the earlier conversation saying that you are a foreign filmmaker making a foreign film taking place in Thailand. But what about this filmmaker who come and say, hey, I'm going to be Paul Spurrier. I'm going to, have a family here, have my business, have my activities, and I'm going to make Thai films.
Well, I don't know what I'd say. I mean, look, it's been a fun journey for me, and it might be a fun journey for somebody else. I mean, I think you have to probably understand that by doing that, you'll probably never be rich. I think all of us who come to Thailand and remove ourselves from the Western economy, we have to learn to adapt to the situation.
Or there are two things that people are saying commonly is like, if you want to be rich in Thailand, after a while you have to arrive super rich.
Yes.
And the second thing is, if you want to be rich, don't be a filmmaker.
Exactly. I mean,
Okay, so money is out of the scene here. So
yes. And look, to be honest, I'd say that for all filmmakers. I mean, sometimes when I do lecture, young film students, and of course the trope that everybody always comes out with is you must have passion, you must be persistent, you must never give up with your dream, you must follow your vision.
That's what we hear, actually.
Yeah, sadly, 90% of the time, if you have total passion, total conviction, you still won't get anywhere, and you'll end up, just sort of disillusioned and regretful. So, I mean, to a certain extent, my advice to all budding filmmakers is always, if there's anything else that you can imagine yourself doing, then do that. Because you probably will have more chance of success and probably more achievement in life. The only people really who become sort of lifelong filmmakers are the people who, and again, this word passion, passion is a lovely romantic word. It sort of, yes, has wonderful emotions attached to it. I would prefer to use the word addiction. That wanting to be a filmmaker is really more like being a heroin addict, and it should be actively discouraged and will probably bring you to the same amount of ruination, starvation, and death. And the only reason that, you stay a heroin addict is because you refuse all attempts to dissuade you from it.
We are going to travel back in time. Thanks to this device we have at Filming in Thailand called the time machine.
This is the time traveling machine.
Paul, imagine that you have this opportunity to meet your own self a long time ago. So you can choose the age, the time, and the place. Where would you go to meet yourself, and at what time? 20, 15, 10?
Oh, goodness, you snap these questions. The
idea being you meet your own self at a earlier age, at a younger age, to give yourself an advice or heads up on what's coming next.
I do remember once when I was about 16, 17, and I was an actor. And I was working with a quite famous actor. And he was asking about what I wanted to do in life. And I said I wanted to be a filmmaker. And I was saving up money to make a film.
Who was this guy? Richard Burton?
No, it wasn't anybody that famous. But it was a professional actor who had a long career in England. And
John Mills, Richard Harris, all the people are associated.
No, I honestly can't. I saw the story would be better. I could make somebody up, but I can't remember. And his advice was, he said, don't make a film. He said, you're 17 years old. You've had no experience of life. You think you have something to tell the world, but you have absolutely nothing that is going to be of any value to anybody. He said, wait. And then, if you're really lucky, in 10, 15 years' time, maybe then you've learned enough about the world to give something of interest. So maybe that, if he hadn't said it, that might have been the advice that I would go back and give myself.
Is it necessary, as you starting to say, to have a deep, heavy life experience before you go into crafting movies and telling stories on screen?
Well, of course, there are always very annoying people who make their first film and it's amazing. And, I mean, there are many that come up. For example, Robert Redford, when he made Ordinary People, won an Oscar for it. And it's an amazing film. How does somebody... Okay, he'd been an actor, but hit gold with his first film is just amazing. So, of course, there are exceptions to the rule, where people come out with something so fresh, where people come out with something so sort of fresh and new that...
That's pure genius.
Yes.
I mean, no one decide on that. It's
Yes.
So many elements coming together.
I mean, it's interesting, isn't it, what maturity and age... I do think, there's some element of truth that as you get older, you get wiser, that you learn from your mistakes and other people's mistakes. Other things get worse. You start making old man noises when you get out of a seat, and you, and you can't remember anything. Yesterday, I forgot my wedding anniversary. That got me in a lot of trouble.
I don't think that's anything to do with age.
That's possible as well. But yes, I do think
you remember you were married. Okay, so nothing's bad here.
Yes, that's true.
Is a foreigner in Thailand able to make a Thai film?
I suppose my answer has to probably be no. I think that to a certain extent, however much you admire and respect, and even try to understand Thai culture, we will never be Thai. And so, but that doesn't mean I think that we should stop trying, if that's what we want to do. I mean, for me, coming to Thailand and trying to make films in Thai language was my sort of, Everest I wanted to climb.
How far are you from the top?
Oh, well, it just keeps on going, doesn't it? We got very jazzy there for a second. Was that you, or was that another radio station?
It's us.
Oh,
we are
you.
very pleased to offer you the official award for Best Guest Ever for this episode of Filming in Thailand.
The best guest ever for this episode.
I noticed. This is the official t-shirt of one of our partners, BKK Doc, the Bangkok International Documentary Film Awards and Festival. You know what I discovered? There is this famous screaming sound in horror movies.
The Wilhelm scream, I think it is.
Yes, and it actually exists, and it's the same that is being sampled all over the world.
That's right. There's one scream that they always used on all those things. Yeah.
Well, what's the name?
I think it was called the Wilhelm scream.
Wilhelm scream.
Something like that. Yes.
And we learned another thing.
And it was the one that was in the sand library, and so whenever you wanted to scream, that's the one you ended up with.
Paul, thank you very much, very, very much for coming to our show today. It's been a thrill.
Thank you for having me.
And that concludes this episode of Filming in Thailand. Our show is available on your favorite podcast platform and YouTube with subtitles. This is very important. Some people cannot listen properly, so we have it on video too. And you can also go to filminginthailand.com for more details and links to transcript and links to your work. So if there is any films available on official and legal streamers, we'll be happy to promote them on the comment section, the description. It's been a thrill. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
And see you soon
I
on
hope
screen.
So. Okay.
Okay, people, fantastic. That's a wrap.
That was Filming in Thailand, an original podcast brought to you by Tero Documentary on Rudy Podcast, with your host, Stefan Lombe.
Thank you for listening and stay tuned for our next episode of Filming in Thailand. Thank you. It was great.
Thank you.
I made a bad joke you didn't notice.
Oh, did you?
I asked you if you had a bit of your previous film in each next films, and if you had any pee in the forest.
I didn't pee in the forest. Troy didn't pick up on that.
And I feel so bad. I made this stupid joke.